Good evening and welcome to the Select Board meeting, September 9th, 2024, in the Waquape Meeting Room, Mashpee Town Hall, 16 Great Neck Road North, Mashpee, Mass. Broadcast live on local cable channel 8, streamed live on Town of Mashpee website, www.mashpeema.gov/channel 8. It is 6:30 and we are convening in open session, and we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And a moment of silence, please. Thank you. Okay, discussion and approval of the following Monday, August 26, 2024, regular and executive session.
So moved.
Second.
John?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Michaelis? And I'm a yes. 6:35, and a public hearing modification to the annual weekday entertainment license application, including Saturday, for UVA Wine Bar 2 LLC, 4 Market Street, Mashpee, 02649. The modification would allow for 1 amplified for live music on Friday and Saturday from 7 to 10. Catherine? Hi.
It's actually Michelle.
Oh, Michelle. Hi, Michelle.
Michelle Manware, co-owner of Uva Wine Bar.
Uva Wine Bar. And we want to modify our license for amplified music.
Yes, so the current plan for general purposes is that we have just a streamed background soft music setup. But for opening, we're hoping that if the space allows it and the customers would like it, we would like to apply to get approval for it's usually soft acoustic music, 1-2 performers at the most, and it's usually just a solo artist with a guitar.
But you're a very small area for amplified.
It is, so it'll probably only allow, the space will probably only allow if we do have the approval for it for just 1 person. And it would be during our peak hours on Friday and Saturday.
We have had an issue in the past with amplified music. We don't allow it in at the lanes, because the sound travels, and we had an issue, so we don't usually do the amplified. And where you have such a small area, I think it would be an issue.
So even for a couple of hours, just a single person playing guitar?
Well, it's up to the board.
I have
Go
a
ahead.
question. Will the music be played inside or outdoors?
Inside would be our plan. And we have a small corner area on the side. If you're familiar with this space, there's our main space, and then there's a side space. So we were looking at the floor plan. It would probably be right at the intersection of those 2 spaces.
I got a question. What about the time frame? You're talking 10 p.m.?
Earlier. So we usually, in our current location, we usually do 7 to 10. In Mashpee, I'm anticipating if we are allowed to do it, it would probably be even a little bit earlier.
Yeah, I mean, if we
7
were
to
to,
9?
we would, yeah, only because I don't think we've gone beyond 9, have we?
We could adjust
For
that
other-
accordingly.
I think, it's even Dino's, wasn't that 9 o'clock?
No, we
First time or second time?
yeah, and then we
What third
stopped
time?
it. The first time it was till 10, and then we stopped.
And that was a band too, so I mean, I totally get that, but but I thought it was 9 PM was, if my memory serves, right?
You could be right.
9 rings a bell to me as
I think that would be, you
a
know,
cutoff.
I feel like that's reasonable,
And you're
especially
just
for the
looking
common.
for it on the weekends?
Yeah, yeah. And can I ask if, so say we had like a special event, a bridal shower, could we, say a bridal shower from 11 to 2 on a day? Could we then apply, would we have to apply for a separate license if it was a different time? Or a different day? Say it was like a Thursday or a Wednesday, and they wanted to have just an acoustic player in the space.
I believe so.
My understanding would be that what you would, the permit that you would have is what you're asking for here, Friday and Saturday, with the modification to 9 o'clock, and then you would come in, I believe, for a special permit for an individual
For anything
day.
additional? Okay.
Is my understanding correct?
Yeah, I mean,
I think you would have to do it that way, yeah.
the other thing is, I'd be, because right now this permit, this is for the year, correct? The way I read it, this would be a permit for the year, so, and I think we've done this over the past because we had to, but, I mean, if we were to approve like a temporary, like 90-day trial basis with certain restrictions to say, this way, we wouldn't have to go, and then we could reapprove it for the remainder of the year, and then just go annual if there's no issues.
If there are no issues.
I don't, could that be, can we do it 90-day?
Well, the board can set whatever conditions they want, but obviously, whatever timeline you do choose, it should be specific so that it's clear in the license.
Right. I know it's just such a hot button that I think I'd feel okay with giving it like a 90-day trial to say, if there's no complaints, we don't have any issues, but that approval would be contingent upon like a 90-day approval from 7 PM. I mean, I'd even say 6 PM to 9 PM, to almost give the hour back, and I'd be okay with that, but I don't know how the rest of the board feels.
David?
Have you reached out to any abutters?
No, I have not, but I can. I certainly can talk to them.
'Cause-
Most of the abutters that are right around us, so right next to us in particular, are actually closed by that time.
My concern is that where it's a low-lying area and it's kind of beveled edges around you, it's going to serve as an echo chamber with all the hard surfaces that you're amplifying the music within the Commons layout. And for me, I think because we have, this is a third one, I think we provide amplified music, I'm not sure, at the Knockabout. And then Dino's, I think
Dino's, no.
Sopranos had asked for something, I don't know if they got anything. And I'd prefer that the town create a policy around this type of thing, because we need to be fair across the board. And in the past, we've done kind of, each one's been dealt with in a different manner. And we all know, Dino Sports Bar had to come back and they had issues. We don't want to go through that again. So I'd prefer that, there's a process, reaching out to abutters, things like that, to get their consent. And I'd be willing to try a trial basis to see what it's like for the people living around the area. There are, deer crossings right above you. If it does, depending on how loud it is, within that echo chamber, it could reverberate over to those residents. I'm hesitant to do a year approval with set Fridays and Saturdays without some of that.
So this would only be good until December 31st.
That's what I was going to suggest,
Oh,
just
okay, so it's
2024.
annual?
Yeah.
All right.
And should have to come back and renew it anyway in the 1st
And
of January.
So I think it's like, for me, it's still it gives us that little trial run
Sure.
and gives the ability.
So if the board was to modify, it would only be good until December 31st,
Okay.
Right.
Okay, that,
if you were to do that.
And do 7 to 9.
I would suggest 6, I was okay with 6 to 9, if you want to
You wanna make
recommend
the
a motion?
Well, we still have the public hearing.
Oh,
That's
okay.
closed. Is anyone here to speak on this public hearing? I need a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second,
John?
Yes.
David?
yes,
Michaela?
yes.
And I'm a yes. I need a motion.
I'd like to motion that we approve a temporary permit through December 31st for
UV1.
weekdays entertainment license application for UVA Wine Bar 2 LLC. So it'd be through December 31st from 6 to 9 p.m.
Do I have a second?
Friday and Saturday.
Just Friday and Saturday.
And Friday, Saturday.
Second,
Michaela?
yes.
John?
Yes.
David?
yes.
And I'm a yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair? Could we work on a draft policy to have ready for the first of the year so that there is
Yes.
parity
That would be-
Yes.
between folks?
Thank you.
I will work on getting a draft policy with some elements and some suggestions for your consideration and review.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And can I ask one last question? To reapply for, because this is temporary, how long in advance?
You have to apply in January anyway.
In January, so on January 1st, we just
Yeah.
reapply for all of the
Right.
licensing?
And-
Okay,
And you'll be notified,
okay,
Right.
perfect, thank you.
unless you change your address. We don't know about it.
Okay, 6:40, public hearing, proposed reclassification of the southern portion of Great River Family Shell Fishing Area. The reclassification will designate this area as both commercial and family shell fishing. Shellfish Constable, Christopher Avis. Christopher Avis?
Good evening, everyone.
How are you?
So this idea came about from the Shellfish Commission's July meeting from one of the members. It was brought in front of it, there was discussion. Then the next month, we came back with a map that I believe everyone has in front of them. And after much discussion, it was decided that if we somewhat split the family area, which if you look at your map, that's the entire green area, and then the proposed designated family area, which would stay in, which would be at the end of the town landing, and then south of the Association Beach, there's a boat ramp, or I should say a boat lift. And around there, all the way to the last house, which most people call the Kaufman House, would open to commercial shell fishing, as well as family and recreational shell fishing. The thinking that the board, the commission had at that time was the fact that accessibility into the proposed change area, which is blue, is an area which, even at a low tide, still has somewhere between 2 and 3 feet of water. Accessibility from the boat ramp, which is really the only accessibility except by boat, is somewhat of a walk. So that was a consideration. The other consideration was we propagate cohogs, you know, the numbers change, but for the past 2 years, which I can speak of, we've propagated that entire area with, I believe, close to, Tyler, 800,000? 800,000 cohogs. And with the area that is designated in blue, not really receiving a lot of people digging in that area, it was thought that, you know, we need to sort of turn the bottom over, get the largest stock out. And that area, if you also, what I want to make a designation, goes out to the middle of the river, so that tends to get a little deeper out there. Because, you know, we try to propagate the areas with the family areas sort of first to support the people that support us. So, and that's the town. And we do other areas, but we sort of highlight those family designation areas. The problem with this area here is that we've got larger stock. There's not a lot of people who are fishing in that one area. And we're not taking away from family. We just would like to have the bottom turned over. We'd like to have that area cleaned out. And of course, the whole reason for what we do is to clean the water. That's number one. The more animals in the water, the better off our waters can get cleaned. But we also have to turn over the larger stock to allow the seed to grow. They're a lot more effective in filtering the water than the larger stock. Like myself, the older I get, the slower I go. However, the smaller ones, you know, exponentially grow and they filter and they start to get bigger and bigger. So that's where this all sort of started from. And we sort of need help from the commercial diggers to help us, you know, pull the larger stock out of that area. And this was brought in front of the board, the Shellfish Commission, by one of the members who is a commercial fisherman. And he's been around those areas and he can see that it's just loaded in there, absolutely loaded. So that's where this idea sort of hatched from. Any questions?
How many commercial fishermen do we have?
So currently, right now, the town, I think, on the books has 15 commercial fishermen. I can tell you that being on the water almost every day, I see probably 5 Mashpee commercial fishermen, which would only be allowed Mashpee commercial fishermen to access that area. And they're out there, probably the 4 or 5 of them, 2, 3, 4 times a week, perhaps.
So the commercial fishermen are already fishing there?
No, they're not fishing there.
Oh, they're not
No, it's still designated as a family recreation area. The change would be the blue in your map to allow them to come in and dig in that area. And again, they would be digging from their skiffs, bull rakes, and they would also be in sort of the deeper area. They don't necessarily get out of their boat, anchor off, and walk the shoreline where, you know, most of the recreational people tend to fish. These are the guys that are pretty much using bull rakes from their skiffs to be able to get into the deeper water, which sometimes isn't accessible to sort of the commercial person.
Madam Chair. So Chris, did you mention that this blue area that's highlighted, you said that blue area actually should be all the way to the middle of the river?
Yes, all of the family, even the family area and stuff like that, goes out to the middle of the river. You know, if you were to draw an imaginary line down the middle.
So again, I'm not a fisherman, I don't have a boat, so I'm probably, I may be the, you know, I need the most education here. So the green area, what does that somewhat represent? Is that like
So the
50
green area
feet, 100
currently,
feet?
I'm sorry?
Does that represent like a 50 feet or 100 feet?
I would take it from an imaginary line down the middle of the river into the shore. That's all family designation right today. Does that make sense, John?
Yeah, but again, I'm looking at the map that it's color coded with the green and then it
Yes.
goes to the blue.
Yep.
So, first off, so what's the orange? That's just,
The orange would
Left alone.
remain the family designation area.
all the way across the river.
Correct. Well, to the middle.
To the middle.
Now, what about, so this green area, what is that for the family area? Is that green area representing 10 feet, 50 feet? I mean, I'm not saying an exact measurement, but
It would vary because of the contour of the land, what the middle of the river would be. Do you follow me? So from the beach, from the shoreline to the middle of the river today, all of the green area is the current family area.
What's the average depth in the middle of the river?
6, 7 feet
Yeah, about 6.
at a low.
I do have another question. So the Shellfish Commission is made up of how many people?
5. 5.
5.
Thank you, I'm on it, and I can't count.
Yeah. No.
How many of them are permit holders?
Well, so it's the same question. How many of them are commercial fishermen?
So, it's my understanding there are Bill Holmes is 1, Jamie Pacheco is 2. Peter, are you a commercial license holder? No. Don't quote me, John, but I think it's 2.
And this was brought forward by
Jamie. Yep,
a commercial fisherman?
yes.
So how do we know that that's not, there's an abundance there? I mean, I don't know. Do we test, do we go out there from the town's perspective and say, yeah, we need to do something?
So,
I don't know. Again,
sure. No. Totally understand. As I mentioned before, we dropped in the past 2 years over 800,000 seed. And we know because if you look a little down towards Cali Beach and the confluence of Little River, we have our nursery right there for oysters. We're out there almost on a daily basis, 3 times a week and so forth. And we can look right down the river because while we're out working, we're also enforcing the regulations in that area. I've never seen anybody fishing in the blue area that we're speaking of all summer long. With that being said, we also enforce on the weekends during the low tides. I've driven down the dirt road by the Kaufman's house. We're out on our vessels patrolling, and yes, maybe there's a few people out fishing and so forth, but what you have to understand is years and years, it's my understanding, prior to my arrival as the constable, we've been propagating this area, and it's just full of larger size stock, and that's in the deeper waters for sure, which is where we think that the commercial growers who have bull rakes and boats can extract some of this and turn the bottom over, and allow our propagation efforts to really do a better job to clean the river. That's our thought.
so at low tide, what is the middle depth? per
Like
se?
5, 6, 7 feet.
About 6, John.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what is the depth if you're not a non-commercial fisherman? What is the depth? You go out in waders, I'm assuming?
Most people will go out into their chest or whatever. Sure. So that's 3 feet?
I'm thinking if anybody.
I mean, listening to your justification, I don't have a problem with it. I think it's, I'm open to the idea of opening up more areas to commercial fishermen. It's a dying trade, I think, and, I think we used to have a lot more. I've heard complaints about, too many areas are restricted for family areas. So, I mean, I take your guidance on this, and I'd be willing to support it myself.
Another question, sorry.
Go ahead.
I guess my question is, if you open this up to commercial fishing, again, is that, I'm assuming is like they're gonna literally just rake it, right?
With a bull rake, from a boat, the rake is probably about this big,
So when they do that, I mean, how long will it take to just, okay, we kind of raked up the bottom in this area? I mean, how long would it take a few commercial fishermen to take care of that? I mean, a couple months?
Well, here's that issue, John, and it's a good point. We just don't have the abundance of commercial fishermen out there, digging all of our waters, except the family recreational areas. So, I can tell you, when we're out there, we see the mills all the time. The park nets are digging all the time. Jamie Pacheco is digging a lot of the time. And really, that's the most that we see of our town commercial diggers digging. And there's 13 to 15 commercial permits that really don't get used as much as you would think. So trying to encourage, the people that have commercial permits, but also the diggers and stuff like that, to open some of these areas to be able to dig. I can't give you a definitive time because I don't necessarily see them, rushing out there and going, every single day for 7 days a week for, 12 months out of the year. A lot of it, it's a part-time job for them. It's supplemental income. You know what I mean? Jamie's got a full-time job. He supplements his income with his aquaculture farm as well as, digging and so forth. Mr. Mills, Derek Mills and his sons and stuff like that go out more of a regular basis because that's sort of their full-time work. We see them out in both bays, but they're really the only ones that we see on a regular basis. So I couldn't give you a definitive time frame as to when that bottom will be turned over.
Some of the Hendricks.
Yes. Yep. We see them out there all the time. They're very respectful.
Michaela?
Hi,
Thanks.
Michaela.
Hi, Chris, thank you. I really appreciate all that you're doing with the shellfish. I know they're a necessary part of cleaning our waters, and I respect that and support it. I have a question with regard to the time periods that we would make this accessible. Is it a definite and clearly defined time period? Let me tell you where I'm going with this. I see the necessity at this point to take those larger animals out of the water. That just makes sense. I see that. I do wonder, as we see our waters start to recover, and we all hope that's going to be sooner rather than later, one of the indicators of healthy water is going to be a return of native species, of eelgrass, of fish, crabs, scallops. So my concern, and this is why I'm asking about a time limit, if we open all of this area up to commercial fishing, and people are actually making a good, supplementing their income, and start to count on that, how do we draw back when we see the water starting to improve so that we're not kind of dredging that whole bottom? I understand it's controlled. I know they're out there with rakes. I see commercial fishermen all the time.
Sure.
So I wonder if you could answer that about a
Sure.
defined period.
No, it's a great question, Michaela. I think the paper put a word in that I don't think that during our during the Shellfish Commission meeting was 100% accurate. The word was permanent. And I don't suggest that any part of our waters and fishing areas should be permanent in any respect, whether, I think that there should be some areas that maybe go from a commercial, because maybe they have been turned over, the bottom's turned over, and we turn that into a family recreational area. The biggest problem we have with family recreation areas really is access. We've talked about, in the harbor management plan, looking at sort of ancient way to waters and stuff like that. And that's really a problem because of the fact that, the boat ramp provides great access. Secaucet Island, one of our busiest areas for shell fishing, has great access for parking, steps down to a beach. If you look at the Pompanesett Spit, we've got 5 spots at the Fisherman's Access, and people can walk down and park or ride a bike. So, it's very tricky to open up some of these areas after they've been turned over to, and keep them sort of, and I'm going to use the word protected from commercial. I don't think it's the right word personally, but, we're looking at areas sort of all the time. I mean, there's areas that we recommend to our commercial diggers, like Callie's Beach. We threw over 850,000 quahogs there last fall. So they should be coming due. We know that Dead Neck past Sage Lot is absolutely just loaded with shell stock. I think there's a natural setup there. So we try to encourage the diggers to go into these areas, as well as, you know, family people that have access to a boat or are willing to drive down Willswork Road. To your point, I can't give you a definitive time frame as to when we think that the bottom will be turned over. I do know I spoke to Webner, and there's an ongoing project with the restoration of eelgrass in Wacoit Bay. This is not an area that they're targeting at this point, but however, in working partnerships with those groups, you know, we'll probably be back in front of you and saying, look, we'd like to change the designation back to, you know, a family area, or we could potentially, because maybe there's a restoration effort, you know, close the entire area down to all fishing just because, you know, we're going to try to grow eelgrass or something. I'm totally throwing that out. But I don't think permanent was a good word to use, and I think we would like to look at all of our areas, you know, in the future, and maybe we close some or maybe open some, you know, and when we get to that point, you know, to John's point, I couldn't tell you when that entire bottom in the blue area will be turned over, but we'll do a bottom survey ourselves and try to figure out when that time frame looks like we should revert it back to a family area. And we may not, you know, propagate it as heavily as we have in the past, knowing the history. I've only been in the position for 2 years. So I just know that the director and the previous constables and so forth have done a really good job of trying to focus propagation efforts on the family areas.
Okay, I'm going to open it up to the audience. Are we all set at the moment?
Could I just
Sure.
follow up with that?
Sure.
So what has been done for us to understand the environmental impact? Because we're trying to use the shellfish for good purposes. What's been done so that we can really understand what it would take to move from fishing in a certain area, that we start to see a recovery? How do we quantify that, and what thought's gone into that?
Yeah, it's something that we've been working with, for example, when we offer aquaculture grants in our waters, the Department of Marine Fisheries, DMF, come down and we do a bottom survey. And how we designate an unproductive area or land underwater that's unproductive is we'll dig holes. Basically, we are 5 feet apart. We span the entire thing. We move 5 feet, and we'll dig, you know, 4 to 6 to 8 inches down, and we continue to move, you know, in a line all the way up until we've actually scoured the entire bottom. So that effort would be something that we would look at to see if, in fact, we're starting to get a natural set, meaning, you know, our cohogs that we're putting in the water are actually starting to, you know, propagate themselves. So we're not having to do the heavy lift. Does that make sense to you?
That makes sense to me, but I'm not sure it got to, maybe I didn't ask my question
I'm sorry.
clearly. So what I'm asking about is, how do we set some defined limit? How do we know exactly when we start to see enough improvement in the quality of the water that raking that entire bottom with that kind of intensity is causing more harm?
Oh, no, sure. So I guess.
I'm coming back to, and I know eelgrass is just one indicator, but I'm
No,
using
certainly,
eelgrass.
certainly. We, if you may or may not know, the DMF tests our waters, all waters, in Mashpee, as well as all the towns on the coastal communities, at a minimum of 5 times a year. There are certain areas that are tested even more. For example, our conditionally closed area and Mashpee Neck, Mashpee River, Shoestring Bay, which is now closed from Gooseberry Island back. They'll test that probably close to 10 times to be sure that the fecal coliform limits and stuff like that, and the algal blooms and stuff, to get to the point when, for example, November 1st, when we typically open. We also do a partnership with SMAST, and I don't know the thing, but it's Southern Mass Sir, can you help me? Thank you. We do testing of the waters 4 times in the course of the summer, and all of those results are brought back. So we're watching and monitoring the quality of our waters very, very closely. We've had, we've been doing this for several years now. So, once we begin to see that those, unfortunately, we're not seeing it getting better. We're seeing it degrade even worse. I think there's a presentation that you receive at the select board level as to, how those results look. So I think that's our canary in, the coal mine as far as when we start to see the water quality improve. We can really begin to start looking at the bottom, do some benthic surveys and so forth, and look to see what the quarter. I don't think we're there. I'm hoping the sewering project, up the Mashpee River corridor and stuff like that, and now around Pirates Cove and stuff. Hopefully, I have fingers crossed that that's really going to change the quality of the water in Mashpee River and Pompanesett Bay.
Thanks very much.
Hope that answered your question.
As a follow-up to Michaela's question, if an area is unworked for an extended period of time, does it become hard bottom? And then is hard bottom in a productive area to seed if it's not worked regularly?
That's a big problem. In fact, there's in the back of Hamlin Pond, in the prohibited area, which means you can't shellfish 12 months out of the year. And we were back there doing a survey of shell study with the University of Michigan, and you could basically walk on top of them. And there was just no sand. So if you think about these shellfish trying to propagate, because no one's pulled them out of the water in years, because that area's been closed because of poor water quality, it's like stepping on stones. We literally had to pull, I think it was 100 quahogs out of the water for a shell study. We threw the meat away, and I think Tyler and myself probably dug 100 chowders in maybe 20 minutes. So the bottom can get that solid, if not turned over.
And there's no opportunity to do relays with those?
There could be.
From those areas?
Yeah, that's a conversation when we realized that what was back there is to actually do a relay and have them, deprivation, process and see if we can, push that through. It's a project we're looking into.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to open it up to the audience. Okay, Joe Lyons, come up to the mic. Chris, I wouldn't go too far, just in case you need to answer some questions.
Joe Lyons on Whippoorwill. And we got a number of people here that are clamorous. Let's keep in mind that the overall reason for shellfish to begin with, it's two things today. One is we're trying to keep our waters as clean as we can, and we know that shellfish in their growth cycle help that. The second thing is, in their wisdom, boards of old set aside some areas in the town for townspeople to go and shellfish, and they set aside other areas that were both commercial and family friendly. A person with a license could go, and all the money that we collect apparently for licenses goes towards shellfish. A number of us buy a license or two, and even our brothers and sisters and everybody gets a license, so the town would be funded. And these are people that fish regularly, as I do. Within the last 10 days, I've been in the river twice to verify some of the information that Chris Avis just gave us. And it's a direct contradiction to what he's saying. He just gave you a point in time and place in the north part where nobody shellfish because it's been poisonous. And yes, they're overgrown up there because nobody's ever pulled them out. They've been full of bacteria for years. Forget that. You get onto the family area, I dug in it for 2 hours twice in the last 6 or 7 days. I found one seed, about 1.25 inches, and I got one large quahog, all right? I did get a reasonable amount of little necks and cherry stones, but nothing like in previous years. The whole strip is not full of clams. The whole strip, called the family area, is not full of clams. There's someone's opinion that it is, and it hasn't been verified. Chris Avis admitted to me that he hasn't taken an inventory, and I have admitted to him that I didn't take an inventory. I just have 2 exposures. So we suggested and discussed going and taking an inventory in this area to see if the family area is full of clams or not full of clams, and that will help answer the question that's in front of us. We can't make this decision now because we are ignorant of the facts. We are dealing with opinions. Someone's opinion that it's full and someone's opinion that it's not full. We'll go take an inventory, and at the end of the inventory, we'll know what the reality is, then we can deal with it. But there's only 3 things that benefit discussion. One is the river. If we can do things to keep the river healthy, it's intelligent and it's beneficial to the river. 2, if we can provide income to individuals that dig clams for a living, that's not a bad idea. It's good, providing it does not detract from other things. And the other thing is providing an area for family to go and dig in, and it's called a family area. The area that we're discussing here is mechanically hard to get into. Even if you're a neighbor, you have to walk across someone's lawn to get in there with your bucket and your rake. The boats, it's difficult because at low tide, the tide, let's say 50 foot out, if it's 100 feet to the middle of the river and back to the shore, up to 50 feet, it's only 3 feet deep. So you're not going in there with a boat with a motor on it. It'll grind its way through the muck, all right? If they're gonna rake, they wait for high tide and they come in and rake. In my experience in the last 25 years I've lived there is every time the guys get in there with their bull rakes, we go 2 years before it's usable again because they strip it, okay? And it takes 2 years for the seed to grow. Well, if we put 800,000 seed in there 2 years ago, they've disappeared. They're not there anymore. They're not cherry stones and little necks like they should be. Now, maybe next year we'll have some, or the following year. But what happened, I saw on October 16th last, I watched them throw seed off the back of the boat in front of my home, which has a view. They did not go in between the docks, and that's what they have to do to feed this family area with shellfish. They don't do that. They cruise down near the river center, and then below the Kaufman Dock, which is the south end of the family area on your drawings, they throw seed in there because the moorings are far enough apart they can get through there with a motorboat, and it's all soft muck. They don't do any damage to their engines when they hit bottom. Now, that whole area from the Kaufman Dock south has always been commercial. No problem with anybody using it. The town went in and put in area for, what do you got in there? It's not quahogs. You got oysters in racks. And that's great, because that could help clean up the river. So I'm just saying, you can't make a decision tonight on turning this family area into a commercial area. It doesn't make sense, because it doesn't do anything for the river or for the townspeople. And don't forget, the townspeople are paying for all the shellfish and the employment of our people to manage the shellfish area. The only people benefiting of this are people that go buy a commercial license. So the town could just buy them off instead of getting into issues over the shellfish. Give them the money instead of giving them the shellfish, but that's what you're doing if you take a family area and turn it over to a commercial. What you've done is just commercialize property that belongs to the townspeople. So that's what I have to say.
Thank you. Mark?
Hi, Mark Burtis, 53 Needham Way. I have no problem with any of the shellfish stuff as far as what Chris and his team do. They do a great job. What he did in the beginning of the conversation was direct you to how it kind of came about. It was a commercial fisherman that sat on a board, okay? It's the shooting fish in a barrel theory that I have a problem with. And, you know, access, he did, you know, there's huge stretches that he did mention that are loaded with shellfish. We share the bay. From Dead Neck to Callie's Beach, Falmouth can come over on that side. Commercial guys, we share the bay. Those commercial guys can actually fish over there. So there's an expansive area of commercial area that's available. And another thing that kind of sits against with my neighbors a little bit is, as they mentioned, as you come off the ramp, the boat ramp, and you do have to navigate around all the private docks in that area, and it is front yards. It's not that the neighbors are worried about traffic, foot traffic. There's plenty of that comes along. But one of the things that did happen over there was where that boat lift is. You know, ironically, the shellfish department and natural resources were against that proposal for that dock. And that, it not only was it created and did it happen, but it's been expanded on. It's actually going to be recreated and larger. And that is right in a family shellfish area. It should have never happened. So that kind of sits on everybody, you know.
Where is that, Mark?
That's right where the boat lift is, over where the Metacomet dock is in the neighborhood there. And it's a pristine bottom, by the way. It's pristine for a family shellfish area. It's very limited and you can actually walk comfortably from the boat ramp to that area. But and people are intimidated by what they see because it doesn't look like it's accessible. So those are several of the things. Accessibility is a huge thing, okay? Now, the whole of Papaneset Bay is open to commercial shellfish as well, but you don't see anybody, it's loaded on that western shore of Papaneset Island. I direct shellfish people all the time to go over. It's just, if you pull a bull wreck, it's gonna come up heavy. And there's just not enough guys around. And the accessibility thing is, you know, when they said they're staying away from Callie's Beach and all that, why stay away from those areas? Because you can drive, a commercial guy that can't afford the boat, number one, can drive a vehicle, a truck, down on Willsworth Road. A kid, a college kid, 18 years old is all you have to be. You could walk out and you can make, in a 6-hour day, you can make a couple $100. But you have to have accessibility. And those roadways, those pathways in, are critical for that. And so but they're expansive too. There's areas, those are expansive areas. What the town needs to do is develop a fishing and fouling areas out on that, probably on their 10 acres out there. They got to rethink that out off of Willsworth and put those into place because people can park and walk out there, and it's just, you're going to load the bays up. And another thing too, if we share the bay with Falmouth, I don't know what it is on Papaneset. Why are we not sharing it with the Barnstable side of Papaneset? Because that whole eastern shore is wide open. It's natural. It's a natural body of water. It's open space. What a terrific place to plant shellfish there. Another place for commercial guys to go in. There's access there. There's roadways in. There's plenty of areas there.
So you're saying,
I don't think anybody's limited.
you're saying there's plenty of commercial space out
There is a massive amount.
They don't
It's
need-
all it is what you're hearing is it's the management problem, because there's an overabundance of shellfish in our particular area. And let's get back to the shooting fish in the barrel theory, okay? A commercial guy is aware of that, right? I could direct him to a lot of other places too, not just that general area. There's a lot of other places he could fish. And, you know, I'd love to see a lot more commercial permits pulled.
Well, now that we've advertised that we're loaded with
Right?
Quahog's there, everybody's
Well,
gonna be out
I
there
think, right?
taking,
There's a saturation point. You can only plant so many shellfish. And it's only so many shellfish, you're gonna clean up so much nitrogen. That's the thing. So it's a management practice thing. Like I said, I'm all for everything. Chris and his team do a great job. But I just look at the source of where this kind of generated and got wheels, okay? Thank you.
thank you. Hi.
Jim Stoll from South Beach Cape Estates. First of all, I want to thank Joe and Mark for their historical and informational to the board, to all of us about what's going on here. And one of the things they said is that we're all concerned about the environment and, you know, we would like to see the river cleaned as well. But what we've heard from a lot of our residents are basically three issues. One is the safety of our residents because it incorporates two recreational areas in our development. It's the safety of our residents who kayak, who paddleboard, who boat. The river's pretty narrow right there. And, you know, they're going off there. And as Chris said, you know, there's like 15, 16 licenses out there, maybe only 4 to 5 people who come into the area to do it. What happens if 15 people show up? You know, there's no stopping that from happening. And that's a concern of ours. Some of our residents are concerned about trespassing. We've already heard from some residents who say people are parking over on the boat ramp and cutting through their properties to get into the areas already, you know, and we're concerned about that. We're also concerned about the overfishing in the you know, in the reseeding process, and you know that the paper indicated at one point in time this was going to be a permanent solution. It should never be a permanent solution. If you're going to do something, do it on a trial basis. Research it, study it, look at the impact that it has on the environment as well as the residents. And I guess in the final analysis is, we've always talked about if you're going to do something that's going to affect us, you should involve us. We had no indication that this was going to happen until we read about it in the newspaper. And while individual members have reached out to Chris, no one from the commission has reached out to us as a community to talk to us about what they plan on doing and how it would in fact affect us. So I thank you for your information, but right now I think we need to have a lot more information before all of our residents would really endorse such an action. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Richard Gorbity. I've been up and down that river for 20 years now, and I know about the seeding program. Mark is on the river every day of the week. Joe is very intimate, familiar with it, and I know that the commission is doing a great job. However, as I just understood, the new commissioner has been here for 2 years. I've been here 20, Joe's been here 25, Mark's been here for 30, 40 years. That river is clean and pristine. You stand at our dock and you look down, you can see to the bottom, okay? It seems to me that everything that we've been doing over the years is working. And as I think Mr. Cotton pointed out, can that be cleaned? And, you know, the answer was, well, there's only 4 or 5 guys that do it part-time. But right now, we're dredging Pompanesett Bay to make more access for the boat ramp, for people, for pleasure boats, right? Well, why don't we make an annual maintenance or a 2 or 3 year maintenance to pay some of these guys to come in and clean up the older, less productive shellfish and then replant so that we can grow new ones. But if we add commercial boats, whether it's 1, 2, 4, or 10, We've added pollution, which right now does not exist. We've added oil and gas into the water, which does not exist. We've added all kinds of shifting sands to everything about that area and our waterway, in addition to the fact that the channel is so narrow now with docks, moorings, kayakers, paddleboarders. A larger boat out there, even if it's one, will cause problems for everybody else that enjoys the river. And that insignia that we all sit under is all about preserving the water and preserving the land of Mashpee. And that is what should be number one, okay? It's not some commercial fisherman that says, gee, we should open this up for fishing, okay? Because then, as Mark said, there's something wrong with the story, because what is the source? So thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Bill Dunn from South Cape. I'll preface this by saying I'm not a scientist, but there is an estuary that abuts that area and supports bird life. Osprey, heron, egrets, and there have been some changes because there have been red-winged blackbirds, which I haven't seen there in 2 years. On top of that, in the spring, there is a cinder worm spawn in that area, which supports the fishery, fish fishery, which I'm an avid fisherman. And I can't imagine that digging up that area is not going to affect that as well. So I'm just concerned about the impact, and perhaps there should be an impact study done before committing to allowing such digging to occur. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Peter Thomas, Chairman of the Shellfish Commission. Thank you very much for having us here tonight. I'm glad that we have a showing. I'd like to see some showings like that at our regular monthly meetings where we cherish this kind of input so we can make decisions.
Well, next month, they might be at your meeting.
I will tell you, and the gentleman that points at that sign up there, we live that every day. Born and raised here. Know the waters well, respect people's rights, high water mark, low water mark. I remember the eelgrass very well. Those days are gone. We're hoping to bring them back. Mashpee has been extremely generous to the shellfish propagation program. The Board of Selectmen and the citizens, the taxpayers, have gone over and above because we do have a problem in Mashpee with the water. I'm here to tell you we have another problem. We have a quahog problem, and we're about to have an oyster problem. Through the generosity of the town and the hard work of the shellfish constables, assistance from AmeriCorps, and specifically, because I know the president's here, I want to thank the tribe, the time that they put in on short notice and help. It's a true community effort. The individual that brought forward the idea is a member of the Shellfish Commission, and Mark knows that, but he's not a voting member, he's an associate member, and he brought the issue up for the meeting, just like any other citizen could. And what did we do? We took a month, we thought about it, we said, let's do a little bit of homework. We talked to the individuals that are on the water every day digging quahogs. Those are the people that we have to rely on, the Department of Natural Resources, the members of the tribe, and the very small handful of commercial shellfishermen that are not members of the tribe. So what we're trying to do is, you know, we're putting a lot of animals. Everybody talks about the value of oysters. They're very valuable. They help the water. People underestimate the value of the quahogs. They are hard-working animals and clean just as much as everyone else. But it's like your garden. You keep throwing in stuff, throwing in stuff, throwing in stuff, throwing in stuff. You got to till it every once in a while to start some new growth. So that was the whole idea about that.
during the course of the month, we had asked Chris and his staff to develop a map for us. We talked to 2 members, one's the associate member, Jamie. The other one is a commercial representative on the Shellfish Commission. Had the first oyster grant in town, knows the water probably just as well as any member of the tribe in this town. And we heard from them that in their time and recently up and down the river, different areas, there's an abundance of large cohogs. The liaison from the tribe that sits at our meetings and participates has told us the same, that their members have said that's an area that has a lot of cohogs. But we didn't just go on the word of the commercial. We talked to some residential people that fish that area, and they are saying the same thing. So what we did is said, you know what? We know this has to go to a public hearing. We think it has merit. Let's get it on the agenda. Our agendas are posted every month, like the open meeting laws in Massachusetts. We follow Robert's Rules of Orders. We provide our minutes to everyone. Mark knows, Mark, when he was fishing, was at all of our meetings. I think we're efficient, and I think we do a great job. We are here to learn tonight. We don't say we have all the answers, but something needs to start happening when you start putting stuff in and in and in, just like you do in your own property. And Ms. Colombo, I agree with you. Getting the water clean is extremely hard work. Keeping it clean is the hardest part. I don't ever see us slowing down with shellfish because that's going to be the maintenance. People are still going to fertilize. The sewer can only do so much. The shellfish are going to be how we're going to be able to maintain the clean water once the water's clean, which I hope in the sewer and before my lifetime is over. I really do. So that's what we did. We put it as a public hearing. We want to learn. I represent the largest group. I represent recreational shell fishermen. Okay? We're here to learn. This is your say. This is not our say. We're trying to make a decision that we think is beneficial to the recreational people in town, the commercial members, and most importantly, the taxpayers. Whatever decision you make tonight, we'll live with, and we'll find another way to go about it. But that's how we operate. We're not going to change how we operate. We have a great group of members. I've served under 4 shellfish constables, and they are the hardest working SOBs with a very small department that you'll ever meet. They'll outwork, with all due respect, most departments in town, with the exception of the fire and police. And thanks to the tribe and their help, that's why we're here tonight. Whatever decision the residents make, that's who we represent. We'll respect their wishes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Do I have a motion to, do you want to discuss more?
I would have a few more
Okay.
comments, but, so maybe it is, Chris, if you don't mind? So I'm all over the place here, so I understand the whole idea of, there's a lot of pros and cons to everything that I've heard. So, one of the problems I really am kind of stuck on is the green area has no scale, and as far as distance. So, I don't know what, and again, I'm a novice. I don't understand what this, commercial fishing. I'm assuming this is a boat that's going to be, dragging a rake, if you will. How close is this green area? To me, are we talking 10 feet off of a low tide? And is that where everybody, if they just have a little shellfish permit, is this where they're going to rake? I mean, is the boat going to come down right where they rake? I don't understand. If it's 50 feet, is it 100 feet? Where do they rake? Do they rake first 50 feet? Okay,
So-
and is the boat going to come down in the area? Basically, if you're looking at this map, I don't know why this blue area is not like right down the middle of the river.
But that's where it should be, so that would be my mistake. I was just sort of going, so the whole half of the river, right, with that blue area, goes out to the middle, whatever that, line is in the middle of the river is considered, would be the area where they could rake.
So would they, so you take the middle of the river
And go
again,
towards the shore,
so is it like
an imaginary line.
20, an imaginary, I understand it's,
Yeah.
I'm not talking an exact tape measure here.
Yep.
But are we talking the middle of the river and then 20 feet on both sides of the middle of the river?
No, it would only be on the side of the area that we're speaking of. Because the other side, which is the Monomoskoye,
Yeah.
that's open to commercial. That's open to commercial and recreation. There's no designation family area on the other side.
So from the map I'm looking at,
Yes,
so everything west, if you will, northwest, is,
that's all open to anybody.
so are you bringing it closer to the shores here?
So we're saying is that would turn into a family and commercial area, or anybody can fish in that area.
All right,
That's
so-
correct.
And again, it seems like maybe I'm not getting something here. Because this green area, you're saying, what is the distance here? It's gotta be, for this to be a family area, it's gotta be, is it 20 feet?
Well, it goes all the way out to the middle of the imaginary line, in the middle of things. So a recreational person, as we said.
This map is not even close to going out to the middle of the river.
This was really just. It's from shore to the
Excuse-
middle.
I'm trying to have a conversation, just, I appreciate it, but, so,
That would be on me, John. I probably should have put that out to the imaginary middle of the river. I was just denoting the shore, the shoreline.
so this family area right now
Goes all the way out to the middle of
goes
the
out
river.
to the middle of the river.
That is correct.
All right, so that's, I had no idea that that's the case.
Yeah.
I mean, if the board understands that, I mean, and
And quite
again,
honestly, John, the family area only designates that the fact that the commercial diggers can't come into that area. The family area, realistically, if you looked at it, if I was to do the shading, that would be all of the entire river. You know what I mean?
But Chris, now commercial is every place else.
Yes. Well, we have other family areas, for example, when you go into Hamlin Pond,
Right.
the entire Spit, Pompanesett Spit, the area in by,
So the only reason why you want to bring commercial to this area is to get the bigger cohogs.
that's correct, which are in the deeper water, which typically what will happen is they'll come in with their little 15
But do you
skiffs.
think by advertising what we're talking about now, people are going to go out in the family area and help you out by getting these bigger cohogs?
Commercial people or
No,
recreational?
residential.
That'd be great. Absolutely. We welcome everybody. In fact, I don't think I do a very good job of trying to get people to come out and dig cohogs, because I can tell you last year we did close to 5.75 million cohogs. This year we'll do 3 million. And as you can imagine, we begin to get to a situation where, as the chairman of the commission said, we need to till the garden. We need to get these out. I can tell you, we work with the recreation department we did a class, I think, about 4 weeks ago, about a month ago, teaching, youngsters how do you dig for cohogs. It's like a treasure hunt. So we need to do a better job of getting, people who are like Tyler's age in their 20s and 30s to come down to get their permits to dig on a regular basis, and try to get some more commercial guys, as Mark said, to come down in their 20s and make a good solid living. So I would absolutely hope that they would go out and dig, for sure.
so, all right, so just imagine, I'm assuming the distance here is that 100 feet, 200 feet?
I guess 200 feet might be from side to side.
So we'll call 100 feet to the middle.
Okay.
Right? So how far from the middle are we talking about going in? With this blue, it's not shaded, so I can't tell. How much
They could go all the way in. We're not making a designation as to how far a commercial person could go in. They could go in all the way to the shore,
All the way.
or
Okay, so that would be so I understand, the problem is, looking at this, people that live here are the people that can actually fish here, right? That can use shellfish.
anybody can.
Anybody can, but how do you get there?
How do you get there?
How do you get there?
Which is
So,
what we're
because I
saying.
heard about, you got to walk across someone's lawn. So that's a problem where you can't just say, hey, everybody, let's go get some shellfish, because you're going to be walking over across all these properties to get to where the shellfish are. At the same time, now we're hearing there's really no lines here, and you're talking about commercial fishing across this whole area.
No, it would stop from the boat ramp to South Cape Association Beach, which is where the orange line is.
Right, but along the whole blue area, you're saying,
That would be open to family and commercial. It would be open
And
to
commercial.
everybody.
but what I'm trying to understand is, can you just take that 100-foot mark and, go in 50 feet and leave the first 50 feet for families?
Well, I think it would be really difficult for me to enforce that. Do you know what I mean? I can tell you that a commercial guy typically is not going to get out of his boat, pull up to the beach, and hop out and start digging. Typically what they'll do is they don't even anchor. Their bull rake is their anchor, and they're just raking, in the deeper water, because quite honestly, that typically tends to be more productive, because the family people, typically will walk out, whether they're in waders, maybe up to their chest at most, and get it. So those, typically in a family area, what we see, for example, in Secaucet Island, people, park the car, walk down, have waders, or they're in a bathing suit in the summertime, and they won't go over their head. So, that area, we try not to, because it's a family area, try not to propagate it, in deeper water just because of that reason. I think one of the gentlemen brought up about the fact that he saw us in October seeding, and we really try to do our best to get in between the docks with our boat. The docks there are quite tight, and of course, if it's a tide, incoming tide or outgoing tide, and you add some wind, we don't want to damage anybody's boat by trying to throw seed in certain areas. So we try to do our very best to get it into the area, within an area that a recreational person can walk out to. It's not a perfect science.
Again, my thought process is, if you have 100 feet on the wide spot, if you have 100 feet on each side to the middle, why couldn't you just increase it to, like, say, 150 feet from so now it's like 25% is saved from the residents, for the residents, for private shellfishing.
No, and
Without-
I wouldn't discredit the idea. I guess what I would say is it would be tough to enforce. And the other side of that, John, I would say is that, again, a lot of the people who are fishing that area, and they're behind me, but the other people that actually drive down to the boat ramp, park, and walk the orange area, but because of, as Mark, mentioned, that boat lift makes it a little tricky to get around, that area that is in question doesn't tend to get the amount of people fishing, just because it's inaccessible. And that's kind of where we're going with trying to just turn this bottom over.
All right, if you don't mind, Madam Chair, just a couple more comments, but again, I totally understand the benefits of rotating the stock. So I understand it's almost like a suffocation type of thing. So, and we're paying, our tax dollars are paying for all these seedlings, and it seems to me like there should be, if we're throwing seedlings down every 2-3 years, we should almost like, okay, let's clean the stock, refresh it, because that's going to be the best way for keeping water clean. So that's a common sense, I get that. So if that's never been done, and you're saying with an absolute, so have you done, and let me use my words correctly here, or have you participated in like almost a rake drag study to say, yeah, what we scooped in multiple 10-foot areas, and it just in abundance?
We have not. My personal department has not done a bottom survey.
Okay, so my suggestion, if that could be done, Now, I also, just from a point of, I don't understand, what is the digger season? Is there a digger season?
It's year-round
It's year-round, okay.
for
So that-
everybody.
So that being said, is it possible that you could do this study and come back in a couple weeks or at another meeting and say, these are my results, and yes, this is what we found from a 100-foot, middle, this is what we found from another, like 50 feet over, and then just take, just a quick,
If that would please the board, certainly.
that would be my suggestion.
I think having an inventory that came up earlier would be very, very helpful.
I mean, because then I would say, okay, you personally participated in this, and then it's an unbiased decision of results of the study.
Sure.
And then at least now I would have a better understanding of, the map, which,
I would be.
and everything.
That's totally fine.
That would be my suggestion for the board.
For me, I'm hearing, different things, different arguments. The other side of the area is already open to commercial. I heard one statement that, what if a whole bunch of commercial fishermen show up at once? That I don't see to be realistic that everyone's going to show up at once. We're talking about 5 out of 15 commercial fishermen within the area. I know the boats to be smaller skiffs that you use. They're not big pleasure boats that are coming in. They're not dragging like commercial scallopers over in New Bedford. I mean, these are small boats, hand tools, bull rakes and things. If it's the advisement of our Shellfish Commission and our Natural Resources Shellfish Department to open the area up, I'm open to it. Creating additional lines, these are imaginary lines. You have a sign down at one end, a sign at the other end saying commercial family areas, trying to create 50-foot, 250-foot lines in the middle of the water. I don't see how they would be able to enforce that at all. I can't envision that working. For size and scale, I mean, you know how wide the landing is down there, so that's a frame of reference. You know how wide the road is, essentially 22 feet coming in, so you can kind of scale off of that as to what your lengths are and such. The lines as they're drawn, I do understand that they didn't carry out to the middle of the river.
That's
which,
my fault.
I mean, you can see kind of the middle of the river, what the distance is, gauge it by the width of the landing overall for a distinguishable, something that you are familiar with. If you've been down there, I think you can assess that. I'm open to it. Myself, we're hearing from folks, we can always revert it back, if there is an issue. I've heard at times, that some of the tribal guys are bothered because they're fishing in family areas, and, if it's opening up more areas for them to go to, then our commercial guys to make a living at it. We only have a few left. Back 50, 60 years ago, there was a lot more commercial fishermen making a living at it. So I've actually heard enough.
I kind of like John's idea of having you do an inventory and then post your meeting with your results, and then come back in and bring us your results, and everybody has the opportunity to come back, and we'll have all the information in front of us to go forward. I think that would be the best way, because some people are saying there isn't enough, and you're saying that there's too many. So let's do an inventory, get everybody on board, and bring it back to us. Does that sound good with everybody?
Madam Chair? We did, and I don't know if we could read the letter we received from the citizens for the protection of Wacoit Bay into the record.
Yes.
Sure.
I have that if you would like me to.
He's got it written.
It is here.
Oh, okay. I was going to say I have it on my laptop.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
This is dated September 6, 2024. Dear Ms. Sherman, over the past few years, the town of Mashpee has made substantial progress in addressing the degradation of its coastal waters and ponds caused by this discharge of nitrogen and phosphorus from residential and commercial septic systems. We recognize the significant technical, financial, and political resources Mashpee has expended to make such remarkable progress. We congratulate the Select Board on leading the town's effort to restore our lost treasures and encourage you to continue the town's effort to work with the town of Falmouth on expanding the Mashpee Clean Water Program to include the Wacoit Bay watersheds. Last week, we were made aware by an article in the Enterprise about a proposal to expand commercial shellfishing in the Wacoit Bay estuary, and that the Select Board will apparently be asked to approve this expansion at its September 9th meeting. We believe the proposed action will put at risk the millions of dollars Mashpee and its homeowners have and will spend on improving water quality. Under the Federal Clean Water Act and the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection Regulations, 314 CMR 4, Mashpee Surface Water Quality Standards, and 314 CMR 21, Massachusetts Watershed Permit Regulations, the requirement to meet a total maximum daily load, TMDL, for aquatic pollutants isn't simply for the purpose of meeting a numerical standard, but is intended to be a measurable step towards restoring the health of damaged aquatic ecosystems and maintaining them thereafter. In the case of Wacoit Bay, that means restoring the eelgrass beds and their vibrant and benthic communities of blue crab, scallops, various fish species, and more. We believe that intensive shellfish harvesting methods that scour the bottom of the bay, where eelgrass beds once flourished, is like plowing a Kansas cornfield. No plant life will grow or survive on the bottom if it's routinely ripped up. Indeed, preventing the eelgrass beds from returning when improved water quality returns defeats the entire purpose of the town and homeowners' multi-million-dollar investment to improve water quality. We strongly urge the board not to approve any expansion of commercial shellfishing, regardless of the type, in Wacoit Bay and its tributaries under the town's jurisdiction, without first publicly clarifying that any expansion is provisional and understood by the public and the commercial shellfish community as revocable when water quality monitoring indicates the waters are approaching pollutant levels at which benthic organisms such as eelgrass can be reestablished. Wacoit Bay, with its rivers, ponds, and marshes, is the largest coastal system not only in Falmouth and Mashpee, but arguably on the entire south coast of the Cape. It's one of the 7 areas on the Cape designated as an area of critical environmental concern, and the website's given for that. The purpose of this program is to, quote, preserve, restore, and enhance critical environmental resources and resource areas of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, end quote, and, quote, identify and designate these ecological areas to increase the level of protection for ACECs and to facilitate and support the stewardship of ACECs. As an ACEC, Wacoit Bay is a resource in peril. The towns of Falmouth and Mashpee should be taking every possible step to restore it to its natural state many of us remember. We owe our children and generations that follow similar memories. The Citizens for the Protection of Wacoit Bay was started in 1981 to prevent the development of Washburn Island and ultimately ensured it became a state park. We worked to protect South Cape Beach and help create Wacoit Bay National Estuarine Research Reserve. The organization played a key role in convincing the Commonwealth to acquire the Quashnet River Valley, where a large condominium project had been proposed. We submit our comments today in the spirit of all the work the Citizens for the Protection of Wacoit Bay has done since its inception to preserve, protect, and now restore Wacoit Bay. Respectfully, Rick Otis, President, on behalf of the Board of Directors. Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Sure.
if the board should decide, and I don't know what you're going to decide, obviously, but if you should decide to continue, then I would suggest that the public hearing not be closed,
Right.
but can be continued. If you choose to take action tonight, then you can close it and take your appropriate action. That's all I would suggest.
Okay, thank you. So can you get that information
Certainly.
and figure what, within a month? After you've had a meeting with everybody also, and then come back?
I'll,
Sorry, Madam Chair, I don't know about, how is he?
I'm just,
I
to
think
do
if
an
he
inven-
does the results
Right.
and then we continue the public hearing.
Right.
People can hear the results.
exactly.
But
That's what I'm,
I've been, him scheduling another meeting with the public, I don't think I think that might be tough.
no, when he has his own meeting, they can go to his meeting.
Oh, yeah, but
the
Right.
commission.
as
shall-
long as he has
Commission's
his
meeting. That's what I'm-
results.
Yeah,
I just want to be totally clear, this is our really busy time when
Mm-hmm.
we're getting a lot of our stock overwintered and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I just wouldn't want to, say
take
a
away from-
month. You know what I mean? I'm down, I've lost 4 of my seasonals out of 6. I only have 2, and Tyler's my other person. So, we're dealing with over 6 million animals right now that we need to find homes for the winter. And so it's a really, really busy time when we're short-staffed.
okay,
So, but I promise you that we will do our best
okay,
to, get it done as quickly as possible.
all right. So I think we won't make a decision tonight, and I'd like to have a motion to continue this public hearing.
So moving.
Second?
Michaela?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Thank
Can
you.
can you just give us a date? Even if you wanted to go a little further out, and I don't want to cramp any of your scheduling,
How about
but
the weekend after, week after town meeting?
Well,
October?
I think he was concerned about time frame. Can we do like 3 selectmen's meetings out? That'll give him like
2 months?
2 months?
2 months.
Okay,
2 months?
yeah.
whatever the meeting,
Chris is good, 2 months.
and it could be sooner. We can always move it up.
But that gives you kind of a time frame.
That would be fair.
And if we have to continue it, we just can,
Yep.
it is what it is. You guys are doing your best.
November 18th?
November
Um,
18th?
I'd respectfully request November 18th.
Okay, that sounds good,
As amended.
as amended. Do you need to vote?
I'm a
again?
yes.
David?
Yes.
Yes.
And I'm a yes.
Okay.
Thank you. And thank you, everybody, for your patience.
Is the discussion of the oyster beds different?
Okay, discussion and
I think
approval of the
you-
oyster?
You
Oh, yeah,
need a-
oyster
so-
restoration, right.
But, I mean, you closed the public hearing.
We did not
I mean,
close.
not close it.
We
you
continued it.
Continued the public hearing, but then taking any action on it, do we have to table
We're not taking any action on it.
the discussion of approval of oyster restriction?
It's,
Discussion.
it's still open.
It's still open.
It's still open right now.
We need to discuss the oyster. Chris?
Right.
Yes.
All right.
Please, everybody, exit. We have other business.
Madam Chair, he is advising to continue that until the 18th.
Okay. That one also?
Yes.
Okay.
The Hamlin Pond.
Hamlin Pond. Okay.
But I would like to just interject something before public comment.
Okay.
All right, so a motion to continue.
Okay, wait till everybody goes.
Part B as well.
Wait till they go out and we'll do it, so everybody can hear it. So everybody can hear it. Okay, go ahead, John.
That would be
I'd
a
like to-
motion to table, wouldn't it? Because we didn't even hear that one, right? Would we table or continue the second part of that, the oyster restoration project in Hamlin Pond?
Continue
Continue? Because we didn't hear it tonight.
to the November 18th date.
I guess what I'll do is, I'll make a motion to continue
Or you could table.
all shellfish constable discussions regarding Part A and Part B until November
18th.
18th.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Okay, public comment.
Before we get into
Okay.
public comments, if I could. Madam Chair, I was contacted today, and I'm going to specifically refer to additional topics where this space is reserved for topics that the chair did not reasonably anticipate would be discussed. There is an item that came to my attention today that I was not aware of until today. The Vice Chair Henricks from the tribe notified me that there is a special event application for the Crystal Perry Honor Walk. He was nice enough to come in for the purposes of discussing this. The event is scheduled to take place on Saturday, September 14th, from 2 to 4. I can tell the board that today I checked into everything, including the police department. We're all set. I just need the board's approval. But I think the vice chair and his daughter would like to maybe speak on the subject.
Want me to
Mo-
add?
Motion
this?
to add to the
But
agenda?
I would just like a motion to add.
Do you want to read them?
I make a motion, move to add the special event application for the Crystal Perry Honor Walk for missing and murdered Indigenous women to the Select Board meeting agenda due to time sensitivity. The event is scheduled to take place on Saturday, September 14th, 2024, from 2 to 4 p.m.
Second.
Michaela?
Yes.
Yes.
David?
Yes.
And I'm a yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Select Board. I appreciate the time tonight, and sorry for the delay. We was under the assumption that DPW Collins Lot was under their jurisdiction, and just found out today that it's under the Select Board's jurisdiction. So I reached out to Rodney to see if we can get permission today. I'm with my daughter, Sierra Hendricks. She's a Mashpee Wampanoag Powwow Princess of 2024 and 25. And Missing and Murdered Indigenous Woman Act is something that she's actively involved in, so I just wanted to break the ice. I feel that this is her first Select Board meeting. I feel she should make her own presentation to the board and request it. So, Sierra, this is my daughter, Sierra, and you can...
Hi everybody, my name's Sierra Hendricks and I'm the Mashpee Wampanoag Powwow Princess. Being the Mashpee Powwow Princess and a woman myself, missing, murdered, an Indigenous woman, and just the issue means not only a lot to myself, but a lot to the tribe as well. 56.1% of Indigenous women experience sexual violence, as well as 40% of sex trafficking victims being Native women. My tribe has especially been impacted by this, with 2 of the victims being my close relatives. 506 missing, murdered Indigenous women and girls cases were identified across 71 urban cities, and 128 cases were missing Indigenous women, as well as 280 cases being cases of murdered Indigenous women. The women and communities from our tribe, our sister tribes, and all Indian country tribes have come together and brought more awareness to this issue, but it's important that the town supports and acknowledges our efforts toward this issue as well. With that being said, we are hosting a Crystal Perry Honor Walk for one of the murdered victims 12 years ago. We are asking for your permission and support towards the walk that plans to end at Collins Lot, and thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
I would make a motion to approve the holding of the event to be held on September 14th from 2 to 4.
Second.
Michaela?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good job.
Well done.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thanks for waiting.
Okay, public comment. Chris Ball?
Hi, Chris Ball, Mashpee TV tonight. I'm here to tell everybody and get the word out that finally the HD channel is ready to roll out next week. Comcast finally gave it to us to beta check on August 20th. Justin's been knocking his brains out trying to get everything so it looks right. We're also going to do a different type of scheduling than the usual public educational government to make best use of that channel. We'll do a cross between all that we have. The key thing that I'd like to get out tonight is it's on channel 1072 for Comcast viewers now. You can watch it. You can see the noticeable difference.
1072?
1072. You can see a noticeable difference between what we've done back here in the control room and now with this. Particularly look at graphs and maps that come up. There's a big difference. So all our first run meetings, all the current meetings, any current educational stuff, football, town meetings, community events will first go on that HD channel. They'll later slide down to the SD channels. SD being standard definition is what we've had for years. The key to watching HD is you have to have the Comcast X1 bank. That is what most of us have now, but if you don't, you have to get one. Eventually, for right now, you'll be able to watch everything that's currently on Channel 8 that will go to 1072. They will both be viewed at this time. Eventually, Comcast, once they get all 20 community access stations changed over, that will go away. There'll be no more Channel 8 anywhere for anybody. The easiest way for you folks at home to tell if you have that X1 box is to tune to 1072. If you don't get 1072 and see the same thing on 1072 that you see on Channel 8, you don't have an X1 box. If you don't have an X1 box, you want to watch HD, call 1-800-COMCAST. They will send you a box for no charge. If you're so inclined, you hook it up yourself. Depends on how many boxes you have, how many, how technical you are. They'll send you a box, or they'll send you a tech to hook up a box, but they will charge you $70 for the tech. Or if you want to just go to the Xfinity store, they will provide you with the boxes there. You can bring your boxes and turn it around for no charge. Most of us have the right boxes now, all except it turned out Mashpee TV. But that was, after 2 years of telling us we had the right ones, we did not. But anyway, we're looking forward to doing it. Our schedules will be on our website as they are now, and you'll see a change so that we can get the best use of the HD channel so we see everything that we do in the community. Thank you.
Good. Thank you, Chris.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks.
Matt Haney?
Good evening, Select Board. Hopefully, my name is Matthew Hammond, trustee of Gooseberry Island Trust. Hopefully, everybody read my email from September 6, 2024. I wanted to bring to your attention a potential issue with the draft warrant article for Gooseberry Island. According to Mashpee Bylaw, Chapter 2, Article 1, Section 27C, which I attached in my email, any article requesting a sum of money needs to specify the exact amount. It appears that the draft might be missing this detail, and it may be too late for the CBC to add it. I know in the past, warrants have been executed with a, parentheses, sum to be determined, and the dollar amount added at town meeting, which I don't believe is compliant with the bylaw. To ensure that everything is in order, I suggest that the Select Board put forth the article with the proposed funding sources. I have attached a revised version of the article in my email, and I also brought copies today. that aligns with the Mashpee bylaw. As you know, any motion made at town meeting must fall within the scope of the article, as it appears in the warrant, as determined by the moderator. So there is some flexibility at town meeting. Including the dollar amount and proposed funding sources now would help the town comply with the bylaw and avoid any issues later. The purchase price is $8 million, which is a 12% discount from the trust's most recent appraisal. The proposal is to use CPC funds for 50% of the purchase price and cover the rest with grants, donation, and other sources. If the town meeting approves this and progress is made, the trust that owns the island will allow up to 2 years for the town to secure the remaining funds. By the time town meeting arrives, the CPC will have their appraisal and will have had at least 2 meetings to negotiate and make a recommendation on the article. Per the charter and bylaw, both the Select Board and the Finance Committee will have access to the CPC's appraisal and any other relevant documents to assist in their due diligence for making a recommendation at town meeting. There's no downside to letting the voters decide. On the other hand, not acting tonight could result in the property being developed or costly litigation. For over 70 years, the town has sought to acquire this property. This is a prime opportunity to do so without affecting the tax rate.
Thank you.
Lynn Barbie?
Lynn Barbie. I'm here on behalf of the Community Preservation Committee because the chair was not able to come. And I just want to say if there are questions that Michaela can't answer, that Kathleen can't answer, I will try to answer them because I know we're at the deadline for the warrant article. But I did want to just remind everybody that that our assistant conservation agent did a review and a report on the 475 in Nathan Ellis Highway, and he says, with the urgency in town for increased wetland protection and existing amenities on site, make this parcel perfect for the town of Mashpee to acquire. That's the report from Daniel Kent when he went to 475 Nathan Ellis. And if there are other questions about any of the other items on the warrant that I can answer, I'll be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Communication and correspondence, new business. Interview, discussions, and approval of the following appointments. Conservation Commission Member at Large, Richard Stahl. Term expires June 30th, 2025. You have his application in front of you. He has been on the committee as an associate member, and they're moving him.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
How are you?
So is anything you want to add? Are you enjoying the committee?
I have. I've enjoyed it to this point. It's only been a handful of meetings, but certainly I've learned a lot to this point. Obviously, I have a lot more to learn, but I have enjoyed it. Everybody on the committee has been very helpful. Any questions I've had, Drew and Daniel, anytime after any meetings, whether I go to the office, have really answered any questions I've had and said, you know, anytime you need anything, give us a call. And Stacy, any questions that I've had with her, she's been great. So to this point, I've enjoyed it.
Okay. Have you taken any of the workshops that are?
I haven't. I just got signed up for the Mass Conservation to go on there and start taking classes there, but some of the other members have emailed me with different classes that online classes that I'm able to take. So I'm just, like, as I said, there's a lot of information, like, you know, I know a hot button one is, you know, Regulation 25, so trying to absorb a lot of that and stay up with the meetings, but I am trying to do as much reading as I can on it, so.
And then we also need you to do a conflict of interest. They can set you up in the selectman's office with town clerk. I'm sorry.
I asked admin at the fire station. We usually take that every year, so they might actually have that in the file. So if they have that, I'll bring it forward and have it to you guys. If not, then I'll obviously take the class again.
Great.
But we do it every year at the station.
Okay, thank you. John, any questions?
No, I mean, so again, Rich is going from associate
To a full member.
full member. I'm trying to remember, I thought if you're an associate, you automatically, you don't automatically ascend to the seat as a full member?
I don't believe so.
I don't know.
I think it still comes before us.
It comes before.
Yeah,
us.
It doesn't happen that often, but I didn't know. So, no, I don't have any questions. I mean, he answered the question about the training, and I think the idea is most members join immediately from being on no committee, and all of a sudden they're thrown into the fire. I think you kind of walk yourself in a little bit,
Which is
being
good.
an associate member, which is, I think that, I like that process better, so. No, I have no other questions.
David?
Taking workshops is something that I've been a big advocate for. I know when I was on the planning board, the Citizens Training, CTPC, I think it's the acronym, that is something done within the state. It has pretty much trainings for every board and commission at a town level. I found it extremely useful. I didn't see a lot of representation from Mashpee as much as other towns when I did attend. They offer 2 trainings a year. They help you learn how to create defendable decisions, and it actually gives a benefit to the town to have people that achieve varying levels of certifications, having taken so many trainings. And I think it's an underutilized opportunity. I think there is a small fee that typically the boards and commissions have an allowance for attending those trainings. So I always advocate for folks to take trainings, especially when they're looking to ascend from, a sitting member as an alternate and looking to be placed on the board. But other than that, I have no additional comments.
Okay, I need a motion.
Motion to approve Rich Saul as the new Conservation Commission member at large.
Second?
John?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Michaela?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Good night.
Okay. Zoning Board of Appeals Associate Member. Marcus?
Good evening.
Good evening. I watched you being interviewed on the board that night.
Thank you. Thank you for the time, doubly so.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I've been a Mashpee resident for about 21 years. I have 3 kids, all born and raised here in Mashpee. We've owned 2 properties in town. We've had a number of opportunities to interact with the local town government here. Built our house in Mashpee, so through the process of combining 3 lots into one, and quite a bit of permitting process, and all the legalese that went with that gave me an opportunity to understand a little bit more about how Mashpee worked. And I view my involvement in the local town government, which is my first, as sort of a civic duty to give back to the extent that I can to the town that has been so generous to me over my family came here from Europe, as I said, 21 years ago. I think it's time that I start getting involved and give back to the extent that I can, and hopefully my abilities in the banking sector. I've been a commercial banker, commercial lender for almost all of the 20 years I've been here in the U.S. So I've been involved in land financing, development financing, none of it on the permitting side. So I'm not a lawyer. I don't have that legal expertise behind me, but in the process of having dealt with developers and other stakeholders in the process of purchasing and developing land, I've come across a pretty wide range of land use and zoning issues. So I'm hoping between my my history and life here in Mashpee, which I've loved for over the last 21 years, and my technical expertise in the financing world as it relates to land use, to be of service to the town.
Great. Michaela, any questions?
No, I think your resume and the recommendations of the ZBA members say everything that I need to know, but thank you.
John?
I got to commend you. I mean, as some of the comments, well-spoken, the whole thing, and everything you just said is what we want to hear. Strong member of the community, and again, also being a commercial lender, understanding you have even more experience than I do in the trade, and you get involved with understanding at some level zoning and limitations and things, so.
Then there's the aspect of analytical thinking that I think translates across, segments of industries, whether banking or local government. So, the critical thinking and analytical aspect to it, I think, helps.
Agreed.
David?
I guess the only things that come to mind is, do you manage any accounts within the town of Mashpee as part of your portfolio or anything like
Not
that?
at all. It's a segregated division of the bank that deals with government banking. I have nothing to do whatsoever with any kind of town accounts of any sort, Mashpee or otherwise. No municipalities in my portfolio.
Okay.
Need a motion?
Motion to approve Myers Tahelian for, is this associate member, right?
Mm-hmm.
Associate member of the zoning board.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Michaela?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And I'm a yes, and thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Welcome aboard.
Constable Ronald Spear. Thank you for waiting.
That's quite all right. I'm ready for a clam sandwich about all that shell.
Good, go dig.
My name is Ron Spear. I am been a resident of Mashpee for over 30 years. Been a constable for over 20. Presently, I am a Mansfield constable in New Bedford, Wareham onset, and hopefully I'll be a constable here in my hometown of Mashpee. I'm also a Marine Corps veteran, a notary. This is my passion. This is what I do. I started from the ground and just worked my way up and grown a business. I like serving my community. I like serving civil process. It's very interesting. There's something that I learn new every day. So, I know my family's excited just about as much as I am. I've been doing this for a long time, so I was looking forward to this, and I want to give credit. I know she's not here right now, for Stephanie Coleman. She's been a plethora of information working my way through this to put me right here today. So I appreciate what she's done for me. Ronnie, too. Thank you.
Any questions?
None at all. I loved everything you just said, so.
Michaela?
Thank you for coming. I don't have any questions. Everything seems to be here. Thank you.
I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
No questions at this time.
Okay, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve constable appointment of Ronald Spear.
Do I have a second?
Second.
John?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Okay, discussion and approval of the following one-day liquor license. Knockabout Beer, Gardens at the Commons, September 14th, September 15th, September 21, September 22nd, September 28th, 29th, October 5th, October 6th, October 12th, 13th, 19th, 20th, 26th, 27th, November 2nd, November 3rd, November 16th, November 17th, 23rd, November 24th, 29th, 30th, December 1st, December 7th, December 8th. I will question December 14th only because that's the night of the parade and we don't want to.
Totally fine.
Okay. December 15th, December 21st, 22nd of 2024, between 11 and 10.
Good evening, I'm Peter Merner with Knockabout. Coming back to you for some remaining dates for our beer garden at Mashpee Commons. To give you guys an update, in, I believe it was March or April, February or March, we applied for a permit with the state, 21E pouring permit. It's a catering permit that allows us to pour on private property. We're the first brewery in the state to ever apply for it. It's something that typically restaurants apply for. And so our current permit that we have at the brewery, our pouring license, is an 18E permit. And so there's a process of them having to approve us as the first person, because typically if you're a bar or restaurant, you have a 19 style liquor license, which you then buy through the 3-tiered alcohol system, a wholesaler, and then to the bar, restaurant, and then the consumer. So right now we're the first one. So we're waiting for our hearing with the ABCC so they can approve that. So I have been almost 7 months now waiting for this, or 6 months. So it's been a long time. Usually it's a 6 to 8 week process for them to approve this permit. So I'm hoping we have it for next year. Hopefully we start hearing by then. So these dates are for our Saturdays and Sundays at the Commons, and I have no problem with striking that date on the 14th, the night of the parade there. And so this is really based around our farmers markets and Christmas markets that we're doing on Sundays at the beer garden there. And then on Saturdays we have some programming like fundraisers, some other like football focused things like that. So weekends basically, just like a business on the Cape. So really tonight we're here to ask for those additional dates to get us to the end of the year.
Sure. Do I have a motion? Or any questions? I'm sorry. Any questions?
You've answered all of my questions. So
Yeah.
you answered the only question I had was about time. Thank you.
Okay, I need a motion.
Motion to approve. Oh, you want to?
The only question I have is,
Sir.
you know, it does say on there, a special license can be granted to any person a total of 30 days per calendar year.
This one's for under my mother's name, Melissa Murner. So that's the permit should be being pulled for. The last one was for my wife, Margaret Murner, and then the first 30 were for myself.
Gotcha. Okay.
I remember actually got some of that explanation early on. But
Yes, sorry about that. I
now
apologize.
it's almost a refresher now. Now I remember.
Okay, I need a motion.
Motion to approve the one-day liquor license for Knockabout Beer Company LLC, Knockabout Gardens at the Commons.
The dates.
Yes,
You
exactly.
don't have to go through the whole dates.
All dates listed
With
as
the
exception.
dates
Except for the
listed, with
14th.
the exception of December 14th.
Second.
Michaela?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And I'm a yes.
Thank you very much. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Okay, discussion and approval to authorize the town manager to execute the required submissions for financial assistance from the Massachusetts Clean Water Trust.
Yes, Madam Chair, this is the same approval you gave me on June 28, 2021. This is just simply for the next phase so that I can complete the required paperwork.
You looking?
Motion?
for a
Motion to approve?
Yes.
Do I have a second?
Second.
John?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Michaela?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Old business, discussion and possible action on article of October 21st, 2024 town meeting warrant, draft number 4. Okay,
Such a big paperclip.
I know. Boy, it's a thick book.
This might be the shortest meeting on
It
record.
could be. Okay, so we have Article 2, page 2.
Regarding town meeting, I just have a, Madam Chair, clarification.
Mm-hmm.
What do we have to have for a quorum? I'm concerned.
I know.
That, I mean,
Don't we
people-
have to have 100?
No, you don't
No?
need one, only for a special.
Oh,
Okay,
that's right.
perfect.
Okay, so we need 0. Okay. Okay, here we go. Page 2, Article 2. To see if the town will vote to appropriate and transfer the community preservation undersigned fund balance in accordance with the provision of Mass General Law 44B, Section 5, the sum of $2,800,000 for the purpose of acquiring the parcel of land located at 475 Nathan Ellis Highway, submitted by the Community Preservation Committee. The goal is to protect this project on Johns Pond, Flying Squirrel Pond, and Charles River, furthering the town's goal for water quality protection. The parcel abuts John Pond and has multiple active wetlands on site. Acquisition would allow for the long-term protection of the wetland values, wildlife habitat, and endangered species. Any questions? Michaela, you're one of the CPC members.
Yep.
And this went before?
This came before CPC. We moved as quickly as possible. We have the appraised value. We had our attorney, the town's attorney, draft I don't want to use the incorrect term, an offer for this property. The resident who wants to sell us this property, or we believe does, has that offer, and it's complicated in that there's more than one person. It's a trust, so they're working through that process right now. This was passed by CPC 8 unanimously.
Yep.
Right.
CPC recommends approval.
Yep, unanimously, exactly, 8-0. I think Dan Kent's letter and Lynn Barbie read a small piece of that. I think that's a really important piece of information. Dan talks about all of the native species that are there, the great importance of this to environmental protection, as well as the fact that there's a dock there that the harbor master would be able to use. Currently, the harbor master is renting space from an owner. So, I mean, all in all, CPC felt that this was a really important article to move forward.
Okay, so we need a motion to
Accept and approve?
accept and approve.
So move.
And recommend, correct?
Recommend.
And recommend.
Second.
John?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Yes.
And I'm a yes. And Gooseberry Island. We still don't have the approval, so we cannot go forward with this one.
Madam Chair?
Go right ahead,
The
Michaela.
CPC discussed this at length. We received the proposal, we didn't receive the proposal until July 1. And we moved as quickly as is possible. We've ordered an appraisal, but the appraisal has not come in.
Okay, so do we need a vote to not to put it on the,
You can
Warrant.
vote to add to the warrant or not add.
Okay.
Or remove it.
Remove it.
Or,
we don't have
obviously,
the
if you were to add
information.
it, then
Okay.
to vote to recommend or not recommend.
Okay, I need a motion to remove. Do I have a motion to remove the article?
And again, maybe just to clarify, I have no problem with doing that. But, understanding the time frame and the whole thing.
Right, and
if
CPC followed all the,
we were in a different situation, I'll be honest with you, I still have a problem with where $8 million would come from, knowing it would have to come from a lot of places, and we're gonna be incredibly strapped for cash with police department, wastewater. But that being said, Mr. Haney also spoke today, and he mentioned about there'd be if this was to move forward, it'd be like a 2-year to find funds and the whole thing. So if this was to come back up at the next town meeting, whether it be a petition article or not, at least it would be done through the process and would have
Right
time
time.
to have roots and have a possibility, but,
I agree.
And likely, by that time, we would have an appraisal. I mean, we don't have an appraisal in hand.
yeah, timeframe wise, it just.
Or $4 million.
So with that being said, I'd like to motion to have it as a
Removed. Okay.
from the warrant.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Michaela?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Okay, see the town manager's memo for Articles 5 through 7 to be removed from the warrant as alternative funding has been identified for the articles that don't require town meeting authorization. Article 5, page 4, which we don't have. Vote to remove.
Motion to remove? as
Second.
recommended?
Okay.
Yes.
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 And I'm a yes. Article 6, wastewater sewer commission, vote to remove from the warrant, evaluate converting 2 private wastewater facilities to municipality assets.
Motion to remove as recommended?
Second.
John?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Michaela?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Article 7, wastewater management, vote to remove from the warrant, evaluate a remote wastewater treatment facility in Plymouth Pond area of Mashpee.
Motion to remove Article 7.
Second?
Michaela?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And I'm a yes.
And if I could, Madam Chair, I just want to let the public realize that all of these have funding sources, and if we were to rely on certified free cash at the October meeting, and we did not have it certified by that time, it could not go forward. So that is why it was recommended to the board.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Okay, now I need a motion to,
Are we good with article, we are good with, is that it?
we did, yeah.
I believe you did 5, 6, and 7.
5,
I
6,
mean, we
and
have so
7.
many articles, we didn't miss any?
Now I need the execution of the October 21st, 2024 annual town meeting warrant.
So moved. Oh,
I'm sorry.
we can still have a
Are you
discussion.
go-
We can go back to it afterwards.
Okay.
Second.
John?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Yes.
And I'm a yes.
What I was going to ask, we've all had the advantage of reading the town manager's memo, and just so it's very clear to people that these projects will move forward, but the funding source is different, if we could just reiterate that for the public.
Yeah.
That's what I
Because
was
don't
trying
want
to
any
That's what he was
confusion.
mention,
saying.
yeah.
Right.
So, obviously, all of these articles are going forward. It's just a different funding source, whether it be ARPA funds or whatever, versus relying on the certified free cash, which we may not have known at the time of the town meeting. So everything's going forward as planned. It's just a different funding source.
That's good.
And it had all been clearly defined amongst staff and myself, and this is why it was recommended to the board.
Madam Chair? Can I
Yes.
just, regarding the book, that's not really gonna be a book, so how, just
Does the
at,
Finance committee, yeah, does, the fi-
what do we, it still has to go out. So I just have a suggestion as far as the book. If you, I mean, because you basically have a boatload of
Card?
pages to fill. So my suggestion is meet the department heads inside the book, if that's possible.
I'm not sure that it is, because the book is generally done in a way consistent with the provisions of the charter or bylaws.
All right, I'm just, I mean, I hate to say, we're gonna create a book that has like 10 pages of blank. That's, you know,
It's just going to be a thin one.
it is.
you could print this in the copier, you know.
Right,
And in an envelope.
exactly. Liaison reports. Michaela, we'll start with you.
Okay. Council on Aging. September is National Senior Citizen Month. I wanted people to know that. They really put together a fantastic newsletter of all their events. This is more of a shout out, because I'm not the liaison to the Mashpee Public Schools, but a shout out to them for their grand opening of the community gardens.
That was nice.
It's well worth driving behind the school just to see. Yeah, it's really good work.
John? Liaison reports?
Nope.
David?
Nothing to report at this time.
Okay, and I don't have anything either. Okay, water quality updates? We kind of did that. Town manager updates?
Yes, just a reminder, the 2024 COVID flu clinic will be held at Christ the King Parish Hall, 5 Jobs Fishing, on the following dates: Thursday, September 19th, from 9 to noon, and Thursday, October 3rd, from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. It's been mentioned in the past, but I'm just going to give another reminder that the town boat ramp at 388 Mashpee Neck Road will be closed for construction starting Monday, September 16th, and will continue through Friday, November 15th. The work is proposed for fall because of the temperature and the time of year restrictions. We're really not trying to inconvenience folks. There will be no access to the ramp and immediate area during construction. Boaters are directed to use the Aquay Bay boat ramp or the Great River boat ramp instead, and we are sorry for any inconvenience, but this is part of the progress that we're hoping to achieve. Also, just want to remind the board, in case you wish to attend the September 24th ribbon cutting and dedication of the LeClaire Village Apartments on Friday, October 4th at 10 a.m. So we need the reservation by the 24th of September. And also, I don't know if any of you are available tomorrow at 1 o'clock, but there is the possibility of the wastewater facility tour for the select board. I obviously can't have any of you deliberating if you were to show up in a quorum, but you can go on a tour, and I just need to know if that's a convenient time for any of you, and if it's not, then we can try to get a couple of other dates, because I know it's short notice.
I can try, possibly, yeah.
I can make 1 o'clock. Can you, David?
That I'm not sure.
Okay,
Well, I'll get another date for the rest of you.
because I can't.
Yeah.
So I'll have 2 and then bring another 2 at another date.
That'd be fine. Thank you. Okay, I think that's
One more
it.
thing, Madam Chair.
Okay.
I believe this may be our last Board of Selectmen's meeting for someone. I believe Terry Cook is retiring. So I just would like to quick thank you, Terry, for your long and, relentless hours to the community of Mashpee, and just thank you for your service, and you'll be missed. From the bottom of my heart.
Congratulations.
I know. I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
John?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Good night, everybody.